As Pastor Isaiah said, Christmas is well on its way. There are all kinds of things happening, and one of those things are end-of-year celebrations. I don't know if you've been invited to your office work party yet. Is it a costume party? Are you wearing ugly Christmas sweaters? I tell you what, if you are a member of our volunteer team here at Alive Church, you would have already received an invitation in the mail for the Alive Church team Christmas party. If you are in a rostered role and you have not received that invitation, please come and kindly let Pastor Joey and I know, and we'll make sure that that is rectified. But we're going to have an opportunity to celebrate as a church on the 5th of December. We have a great time, not only celebrating what God has done in and through this house, but taking a moment to honor a few individuals that have definitely stood out through the year as well. We have a lot of fun, plenty of games. If you're sitting there with a little bit of FOMO that you're missing out on this Christmas party, the key to this is signing up to our volunteer team and make sure you're a part of what we're doing here in the house. Join the kids team. Pastor Holly would love to have you out there. I think they've got water bombs coming up in the near future. You want to sign up before then because you can get out there in your Speedos and head up and down. Don't go out in your Speedos. Yeah, I'll get parental complaints. Do not do that. Do not do that. Also, the young adults. Where are all the young adults in the house? We're talking 18 through to 35. Who do we squeak in there these days? Up to 30s. Yeah, we've got a bit of a Christmas celebration coming up this week. On Wednesday, we're going to play pickleball. I'm not exactly sure what pickleball is, but I'm excited about any sort of cured cucumbers when it's involved in sports. So if you are a member of our young adults community, this is what we're going to do. Pickleball at the Bundaberg Pickleball Land, whatever it's called, over near Pastor and Joey and my house. Just a little hot tip there, but sounds exciting, huh? Awesome. I was meant to discuss all of that while the buckets were going around. The buckets are well and truly done. So let's get into the word. Let's let this incredible worship team grab a seat. Thank you, guys. Fantastic. Like I said, Christmas is here. Christmas is approaching, and all of a sudden we see our lives kind of get a little bit busier. There's certain things we start to do. We start planning what our Christmas looks like. We might be planning a vacation. I don't know if any of you out there are doing that. You're looking at the location. You're looking at transportation. You're looking at duration. How long are we going away for? Where are we going? And how are we going to get there? You might have been starting to put a Christmas list together. Richard, have you got a Christmas list together yet? No idea? You'll just write your name on the card when Mel buys all the presents. Yep, that's one way to do it. You're probably thinking about who's going to look after your home while you're away. You're trying to organise someone to water the cat and feed the plants. You want to make sure you get that the right way around. You've got all of these things going on. You might have text your pastors already and let them know you're going away so they don't spend their entire Christmas praying for your backsliding soul. So we know where you actually are on Sunday. That's a great thing. But obviously, before we hit the road, there is a little bit of preparation that needs to happen. I don't know if you're like me, but before you head on the trip, you're playing a game of Tetris in the back of the car. You got 3 full-size suitcases that you're trying to fit in a tiny boot. So when you finally get those 3 suitcases in, that's your wife's makeup. Now you've got to get everyone else's luggage in the car somewhere. So you got this journey going on, getting that luggage loaded up. We need to program a playlist for the trip. It needs to be music that keeps Dad awake at the wheel, but it has to be music that's not going to cause Dad to drive off a bridge. We want music that's tolerable, upbeat, keeps us awake. We want to make sure the car is loaded up with snacks for when the kids get hungry. And with those snacks, you probably want to partner it with a couple of vomit bags in case the kids weren't as hungry as they originally thought. And it returns to sender. We want to make sure we're prepared for that. Now, once you've got all that set up, everybody's loaded into the car, and what we see is the battle of the back seat launches into full effect. If you have kids or you were a kid with a sibling, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The back seat is a battleground. You might be familiar with, Mom, she's touching me. Sophie, stop touching your brother. Mom, she's looking at me. Sophie, stop looking at your mom. She's thinking about me. So, what? You know, this is what it looks like. And all of a sudden, the kids are drawing invisible lines on the seat. This is my territory. You can't cross my territory. And they guard those lines like they're Donald Trump themselves. Nobody is getting across that border. Mom, he's crossing my boundary. He's in my territory. We need to get him evicted. But this is what it's like in the back seat. There's war that's going on. And then we start hearing are we there yet? Are we there yet? I'm hungry. Oh, I've got to do a wee. I don't know where I dropped my chewing gum. And that's just Dad. You haven't even left the street yet and the complaints are coming. Can anyone relate with it this morning? I know when we used to travel as kids, there was a particular road we'd go up and you'd come by this big gum tree with a car lodged up high in the branches. I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's somewhere in New South Wales. And we were always mesmerized by this. And my mum would use it as an opportunity to convince us to behave in the back seat. She'd be like, kids, if you don't be quiet and stop mucking around in the back seat, that could be us. Do you want to see your father drive a car up a tree? Well, I'm a little intrigued now that you've mentioned it. I kind of would want to see Dad drive a car up a tree. It's yeah. I don't know if I've got you as excited about a road trip yet, but road trips can be a little complicated at times. They can be challenging at the absolute least. But this morning, I've titled my message, Road Trip, because as Christians, as followers of Christ, a challenging road is one that we need to be familiar with. In fact, a challenging road is what each of us have been called to follow. It says in Matthew 7, verses 13 to 14, you can enter God's kingdom only through a narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad and its gate is wide for many who choose that way, but the gateway to life is very narrow and the road is difficult and only a few ever find it. We are called to navigate a narrow and difficult road. And a lot of us see the word few in that verse and we abandon hope of ever being counted within that minority. But this verse is all about issuing a qualitative warning, you know. It's letting us know that what we're required in order to navigate this path is not convenient, it's not comfortable, it's not the popular choice that the majority of this world have chosen to follow. It's not a theological head count. It's Jesus telling us that there is not a cap on heavenly tendencies, and if there were, he wouldn't command us to go and preach to all of creation. But what he is saying is there's a narrow road that we need to choose, and it is going to be a challenging road to navigate, but he still encourages us to choose it. Romans 10 verses 9 to 10 says, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, then you will be saved. For with the heart one believes and is justified, and with the mouth one confesses and is saved. There's something that happens in our heart and a declaration of our mouth, and when our heart and our mouth line up with our actions, we find ourselves navigating that narrow and difficult path a lot easier. You got to note that in that verse there is no fine print saying that the offer is only available to the first 140,000 applicants. It's to anyone that believes in their heart and confesses with their mouth. There's no, the doors are closing soon. Salvation is a free gift that is available to everyone who believes. And later in my message, I want to make sure everyone in this room gets an opportunity to make that declaration. I want to give you a chance to accept Jesus into your heart and confess that he is Lord. But the road we are called to navigate between decision and eternity is a challenging road. It's a road that needs to look a lot different to the broad way that the rest of the world is riding. If you're a young teenager growing up in the 80s, you know that AC/DC know exactly what we're talking about. there is a highway. And this morning, there are some strategies that I want to help us apply to ensure that we stay on the straight and narrow and avoid that highway. How do we maintain course? How do we maintain speed? How do we navigate when your Maps app is buffering because you went through a tunnel, If you found yourself riding this highway, how do we get off? So there are a few of these things I wanted to cover this morning. The first thing I think we need to do in order to ensure we stay on that straight and narrow and navigate it well is we've got to pack light. You got to pack light. You see, in the Western world, one of the greatest hindrances for us walking our Christian walk to stay on that straight and narrow is that we have a tendency to become a little overloaded. We get a little bit too much on our plate. You see, the enemy, Satan, learned a long time ago he didn't need to turn you into a drug-dealing, bank-robbing priest of the dark Lord in order to turn you away from the path God had called you on. All he needed to do was load you up with enough stuff that you'd be distracted, hit a soft shoulder, and veer out of control. All he needs is for you to be a little distracted, a little preoccupied from what God's called you in order to see you stray from the path that God has called you to stay on. He doesn't need you to become some horrific sinner to step away. It simply needs to be turning away from God's will and plan for your life. What I'm saying is all the devil needs to do is make us a little comfortable in how we're living. Make us a little hungry for life's little pleasures. That we take our eye off the goal that God has set before us. It might be a house, a car, the perfect spouse, a couple of acres, a six-figure career, perfect tan, straight teeth. I don't know what it is that you're pursuing. And these are all good and worthy pursuits, but not when that pursuit surpasses your own pursuit for Him and the things that He has for your life. He needs to be our first and foremost pursuit. It says in Matthew 6, verses 19 to 21, "Don't store up treasures here on earth, where moths eat them and rust destroys them, and where thieves break in and steal. Store your treasures in heaven, where moths and rust cannot destroy them, and thieves do not break in and steal. Because wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will also be." What are we locking our heart in on today? What is it that we're pursuing with every ounce of our strength and our time and our energy? What is it that we're chasing after? It goes on a little further in Matthew 6 in verse 33 where it says, "Seek first the kingdom of God and live righteously, and He will give you everything you need." He's not saying you need to pick one or the other, but He's saying pursue me first. And everything else that you would usually worry or distract yourself with, I'm going to look after that for you. I always love this verse. I feel it's a little bit tricky of God, where He says, seek me first and my righteousness, and then I'm going to look after all the desires of your heart. And it's tricky because when we start to seek Him, when we start to pursue Him with our life, all of a sudden the desires of our heart shift. It might no longer be the Lamborghini you want in your garage. All of a sudden, the desires of your heart is to see your city saved. The desires of your heart is to live a good and godly marriage. All of a sudden, your perception shifts when you've sought Him first and His righteousness. You might say, well, that's not me. I live by humble means. All I need is a roof over my head and a knife to butter my bread, and I'm happy. That's all I need in life. I don't know if anyone actually says that, but it rhymed, so I put it in there. But when you look in your rearview mirror, you see that you're towing a heavy laden trailer behind you, a trailer that's full of hurt and unforgiveness, shame and offense, guilt and bad habits. And this overloaded trailer is weaving back and forth over the road. It's making it hard for you to control the wheel on this straight and narrow path. And I got to tell you today, you got to unhitch that thing. That trailer full of the things from your past that you insist on hanging on to is slowing you down. It's causing you to veer wildly back and forth across the road. It's causing difficulty for you to keep your eyes set and focused on the path you're meant to be traveling. So it's time to pull the pin, let that trailer go, and let it roll off into a ditch somewhere. Get rid of it. Those sins of your past, the guilt, the shame, the hurt, the offense, the unforgiveness, the bad habits. Let them go. You got to get this trailer off your back. We've got to ensure that we pack light. A couple of years ago, I got tricked into signing up to a 72-hour hike called the Extreme Character Challenge. 72 hours hiking through mountain ranges of hell. No, that mightn't be the actual location, but it was a terrible time. 72 hours with a backpack on your back, marching up and down mountains for 72 hours. We might have stopped for a sleep every now and again, but this hike was such an extreme challenge that they encourage you to sort of condition yourself beforehand. They want you to do a little bit of preparation, a little bit of training, and they encourage you to get your backpack, put 20 kilos of weight in your backpack and just walk around your neighborhood. So I did that a couple of times, looked a little weird marching up and down the neighborhood with a backpack. But what happened is a fellow hiker, a gentleman in the group that I was hiking with, was lugging around his bag for a good 48 hours. And then one evening, as he stopped to look for a clean pair of socks in his backpack, he found that he had left one of his 10-kilo weights at the bottom of his backpack. So where we had been marching around with 20-kilo packs on our back, he had been lugging around 30 kilos while we were doing this hike up and down mountains. It's safe to say that somewhere out there, sitting alone on a mountainside leading towards perdition, is a lonely and unused 10-kilo dumbbell. If you're interested in going out looking, we've got to unload this unnecessary weight that we carry in order to stay on that straight and narrow. We've got to cut loose some of the excess. Why do we insist on carrying extra weight when the trek that we're navigating has enough challenges of its own? We so often will hang on to them when we need to cut those weights loose. It says in Hebrews 12, verse 1, to let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that easily trips us up. We've got to set aside those weights. We've got to set aside the sin that trips us up. Jesus in Matthew 11 says, come to me all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. You see, there's a calling in our life to come and take these weights that we're towing behind us and leaving it at the foot of the cross. We've got to lay it down. We've got to put it aside. We've got to keep moving, and we've got to ensure that we've packed light. In fact, Jesus wants us so streamlined that he says if your hand is the thing hanging on to sinful weight, you're better off chopping it off. No heavy weight of sin, and you're also about the weight of a good, healthy hand lighter because you've done so. Please note this is not a literal directive. Psalm 47:1 says, clap your hands, or people shout to God with loud songs of joy. So I think he would prefer you to have both hands functioning so we can clap. He doesn't want clapping to become a team effort. He wants you to be able to do that yourself. But what he is saying is that if your sinful hand is what's holding you back, you're better off removing it no matter how uncomfortable it is. Do whatever it takes to cast those weights aside. It'd be a very quiet praise and worship service if every sinful hand was chopped off, don't you think, Pastor Josh? In Hebrews 12:4 it says, in your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. In other words, Paul's saying it's that important that you overcome these sins. You push yourself to every last effort to ensure you got that thing beat. Until you've shed blood, you haven't tried hard enough to stop the sin in your life. In other words, even when you say you've tried everything, there may be something you are yet to try, but it's too inconvenient, too uncomfortable. It may take emptying the liquor cabinet at home. It might mean canceling some of your streaming services. Maybe that girl you're seeing isn't your best influence, and it's time to chop it off. I want to clarify again, please do not chop off any hands. Do not remove any eyes or any other sin-inducing appendage. Leave yourself intact, but make sure you're willing to do the uncomfortable thing to beat that sin and weight in your life, yeah? Make sure you're capable of doing the uncomfortable things so that we can pack light. I do hope you have packed floaties today, though. You might need them on the way to your car by the sounds of that rain out there. The next thing we've got to do to ensure we stay on the straight and narrow is we've got to set our bearings. Everyone say, set our bearings. Do you know that if you're a pilot flying from Brisbane to the LAX airport in LA and you start your flight with your trajectory 1 degree out of what it's meant to be, you could wind up 1,500 kilometers from where you intended to land. In this case, it'd be somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. See, that 1 degree wrong in your trajectory over a distance of time is going to see you land in a place you never expected to land in. And the same goes for this world that we're living in. If we've got those little compromises in our life, where we started is going to be so much different to where we find ourselves. These little shifts in what we believe and what we stand for can find us lost and off track. Just those little compromises, things that you don't think people will notice, just a little thing that's a little different to what you know God has directed you to do. How many times do you hear of a marriage being broken from unfaithfulness? And those couples will often say the same thing. It started out so innocently. I started working back late with a colleague. Instead of going home on time, we started texting. We had a lunch together a couple of times at work. I was then helping her navigate some troubles with her husband at home. And before these tiny little deviations see a shift in the direction of their trajectory because their bearings were just a little bit out from where they were meant to be. You're not some kind of failure if you find that your bearings are a little off. You're not on your own if you find yourself in a situation like this. In fact, King David, a man who was described as a man after God's own heart, was victim to a situation, a moment very much like this, a slight deviation in his true bearing, seeing him land somewhere he never expected to find himself. If you turn to 2 Samuel 11 verse 1, it says this: in the spring, at the time when kings go off to war, David sent Joab out with the king's men and the whole Israelite army. They destroyed the Ammonites, besieged Rabbah, but David remained in Jerusalem. Okay, so David, you're a king. Usually you should be at war. It seems a little out of norm for you to still be at home, but let's keep reading and see what happens. 2 Samuel 11 verse 2. One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace, and from the roof, he saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful. Okay, oops, yep, that's okay, David. You weren't to know. You probably should get off the roof now, though, huh? Probably time to head back in. But let's see what happens. 2 Samuel 11, verse 3. So David sent someone to find out about her. The man said she was Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam and the wife of Uriah the Hittite. Okay, all right. So she's married. All right, you found out what you need to know about her. You probably just wanted to find out about her so you could apologize for the whole pervy roof thing, you know. You probably just wanted to say, sorry about that. You might want to kick the blinds down. I'm sure that's what was going on. But 2 Samuel 11, verse 4, it says, then David sent messengers to get her. She came to him and he slept with her. Do you see this little variance in his bearings led to a journey which found him in a place he never anticipated finding himself in, all because his bearings were a little off what God intended them to be? Where have you got your bearings set today? Pastor Ken mentioned in his communion message, Hebrews 12 verses 1, let's run this race with endurance that's been set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith. That is where we need to set our bearings. You see, Jesus ran the exact race we're running. And he ran that race that he could write a best-selling book on how to run the race of life and run the race of life to win. And he wrote it and he provided it for us. It says in the scriptures that he faced every trial and every temptation that any other man would have faced. But when he hit the finish line, he did so without blemish and without spot. And he took that victory on our behalf. So we need to set our bearings on Jesus. And when we set our bearings on Jesus, it gives us a clear understanding of where we're going to land. So what have we said? We're going to pack light and we're going to set our bearings. The third thing that we need to do is we need to take your exit. Have you ever been flying along a motorway and you just see that exit you were meant to take go flying past behind you, and all of a sudden you've added 40 minutes to your trip? You need to be ready to take your exit. Sometimes we can find ourselves on this broad highway and it's moving fast. We've got traffic surrounding us on all sides. We're blocked in by mad drivers. There's a semi-trailer up your tail and you see that exit approaching. But I want to tell you now, it's time to turn on your indicator. You need to make some impression and notify those around you that you're coming off, that you're taking your exit. In fact, Jesus tells a story that many of us would be familiar about a young man who needed to know when to take his exit. And that story is called the prodigal son. Now you see in this story that there was a man who had two sons, and these two sons are working away hard in the field. And one day his younger son goes, you know what, I've had enough of this. It's hard, it's hot, and all my friends are out there having fun. I'm over it. I'm sick of working the land. And he goes into his father and he demands that his father cash out his portion of the inheritance. He wants property sold, he wants finances, he wants gold, he wants what's coming to him in his inheritance, and he wants it now. So his dad arranges to take the son's portion of inheritance, puts it in his hand, and the young son heads off to live the high life. Essentially, he's packed his bags and he's flown to Vegas. He's got to Vegas, he's on the glitter strip, and he's living the party life. There's popularity, there's the parties, there's the girls, there's the drugs and the sequenced jumpsuits. It's all happening. It's a fun life to be living. And as he's living that and all the people are around him, a famine and a drought comes to the land. All of a sudden, all the work dries up. All the water dries up. All the food dries up. And as that man spends his last dollar, all his friendships suddenly disappear as well. All of a sudden, this man finds himself alone, hungry, no money, in a strange land. And in order to get by, he signs up to work on a farm feeding pigs. And this boy finds himself in this situation one day, so desperate, so hungry, so rock bottom, that he's looking at the slop that the pigs are eating, and all of a sudden he finds himself licking his lips. You know, I'm so hungry, maybe I could just dig into what the pigs are eating right now. And this is when the boy sees his exit approaching. He goes, actually, I got an idea. What if I go home to Dad? What if I get out of this life and return to where I'm meant to be? He goes, I'm sure that I've upset my dad. I know that what I did and how I've been living has probably disappointed him. But maybe, just maybe, if I return to where I'm meant to be, I could ask him to take me on as a servant. Maybe I could work for him, be a mere worker, because even my father's workers are treated better than how I'm living at the moment. Maybe I should just head home. So he takes his exit. He leaves that life behind him and he starts to return to that path that God had called him to walk in the first place. And as he gets closer to home, he faces the part of the trip that he dreads the most. That's that small portion of road that heads to his father's house. As he approaches that, he starts to get anxious. He starts to get nervous. What is Dad going to say? People are going to be watching me from the farmhouse as I approach that gate. They're going to be judging me. They're going to be critical of where I've been and what I've done. They're going to see how I'm dressed. I mean, I smell like pigs. What are they going to think as I walk up that path to the home that I abandoned all that time ago? What is my Father going to think? If we turn to the scripture, we can see exactly how the Father responded in this situation if the creative team could join me. It says in Luke 15, verse 20 to 24. So he returned home to his father. And while he was still a long way off, while he was still not quite there, where he still hadn't got it all together, while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. And filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, he embraced him, and he kissed him. His son kind of pulls away and he says, Dad, hang on, Dad. I know I've sinned against both heaven and against you, and I'm no longer worthy of being called your son. But before he even gets to finish his sentence, his dad puts his finger to his lips and calls the servants, quick, bring for me the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Also fetch a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet. And while you're at it, kill that calf we've been fattening, because we must celebrate with a feast. For this son of mine who was dead, the son of mine that was dead has now returned to life. He was lost, but now he is found. So the party began. This is your exit. You might be sitting there this morning feeling exactly what this young man was feeling. The shame and the guilt that you've been carrying because of how you've been living. Those things that you have burdened yourself with that keep tripping you up and holding you back. Maybe you're ashamed that you lost your bearings and found yourself in a city you were never intended to be in. But yes, your exit is coming up. What are you waiting for? You see, God is the Father in this story, and this Father is waiting for you. He's desperately in love with you, and he's longing to hold you in his embrace today. He wants to wrap you up. He doesn't care about the rags of sin you're wearing. In fact, he's got a brand new robe waiting to exchange them with. He's ready to put a ring on your finger. It's not just jewelry, it's a ring that identifies you as a member of his household. And the blisters and bruises on your feet, he wants to wash them down and put new sandals on your feet. He doesn't care about the stench of your past life. It's not going to keep him from taking you in his arms today. Your wild ways will be forgotten. He just wants to hold you. Just wants to hold you. You don't need to strive in your own strength and push through in your own ways anymore. He wants you to come home. Take that exit and find yourself on that path that he wants you on today. Let him clothe you in new robes and place that ring on your finger. And the best thing of all is when you make that decision, when you take that exit and you find yourself driving up that driveway to the house, the Father has already been preparing a calf. He's got that rotisserie burning hot. He's ready to go. He's been waiting. He's been desperately watching out his kitchen window, hoping to see you walk back up that driveway. And today, that day has come. So this morning, if I could get every eye closed and every head bowed. If you identify that young man this morning and you're ready to take your exit, if you're tired of this direction you've been heading, this life you've been living, this is your chance. Turn that indicator on, and in a moment of courage, can I encourage you to lift your hand in the air so that we can pray a prayer together this morning. If you would like to take that exit and say, Jesus, I'm tired of living for me. I want to live for you. Come into my heart today. Just throw your hand up in the air right now so we can pray together. Is there anyone this morning? I see that hand up the back. What an incredible decision. That hand over to the side. That hand there in the middle. Come on. Is there anyone else this morning? Come on, it's time to get rid of those rags of sin. Put on that new robe that the Father has waiting for you. He wants to wash you clean of that past you've been carrying around. I see that hand over the back there as well. What an incredible decision this morning. It's a new way. It's a new road. The dead ends, the potholes, the damage you were taking on this road you've been running, there's a new one waiting for you. And Jesus is ready to co-pilot with you this morning. Is there anyone else? Okay, church, thank you. What an incredible decision. So brave. So brave. It's not an easy decision to make when there's a semi-trailer bearing up behind you, but you've got to get off that highway today. Is there anyone else? Church, let's pray with these 5 people this morning. If you raise your hand, I want you to say this prayer with everything that's within you this morning. Dear Jesus, I know I've been a little lost. I know I've strayed from the path you had for me. But today I'm coming home. I've taken my exit. I want to turn from my life of sin. And I want to follow you. I want you to be the Lord of my life. And I accept you as Savior in my heart. Today I want to be born again, washed and made new. Come into my life. In Jesus' name, amen. Come on, church, let's put our hands together and celebrate those decisions this morning. I tell you what, like that father in that story, there is a fattened calf rolling around, and the party is just beginning. If you're not a meat eater, I'm sure he's got some fantastic vegetarian options for you at that party as well. But hey, guys that made that decision, what an incredibly brave step. It's the first of so many steps along this path that Jesus has for you today. I want to encourage you, first things first, make sure you stay connected. If you look around you, there is a family here that want to support you in this journey that you are walking. You're not walking this journey alone. When you fall down, we're here to pick you up. When you have a win, we're here to celebrate with you. We are here to champion you as you run this race. So don't run it alone. Make sure you're a part of a community. Secondly, you got to get your hands on that How to Run the Race of Life and Win, that best-selling book, also known as the Bible. It step by step tells you how to live a successful Christian life. If you don't have a Bible, good news. We've got a special offer going today where you can have one for free. Come and visit us at the hub, and we're going to put a Bible in your hand so that you've got that book that's going to navigate you from this point on. And start a relationship with God. Start praying. Have a conversation. Let him know what's on your heart and listen intently for what's on his. And he's going to engage in that conversation with you because he loves you dearly. And he is so excited to have you in his arms again this morning. So, hey, I'm so excited. I'm so pumped for you. Church, we're going to go out celebrating with a song of praise this morning. Church, tomorrow, if you're brave, I am here at 5 a.m. praying for our city. You're more than welcome to come and join us. But why don't we jump to our feet? We'll go have a song of praise, and then we can go out and brave torrents of water to grab a donut. We'll see you next week. God bless.
faithful all the time. Oh, you're faithful all the time. Oh, you're faithful all the time. Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining this week. Joining us this week. Go out, have a coffee, connect with someone, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.